So let's talk about what happened in Texas, because you, in addition to being one of our most respected police officers and commissioners ever, are a true counterterrorism expert. And that's where your career took you after 2002, where you really spent a lot of time on that after 9/11. So what's happened down in Texas this past weekend appears to be an attempted terror attack by a guy from the UK who took 4 people hostage at a Jewish synagogue, including the rabbi. And there are real questions about what the heck this guy was doing in our country. He made clear he was there to protest. She was known as Lady Al-Qaeda, who was in a nearby jail, sentenced to 86 years or 87 years in prison after she shot or tried to shoot our military and police officers, and had been caught with the ingredients for how to make a dirty bomb and all sorts of things. Anyway, he wanted her gone. She's a raving anti-Semite, and so is he. So he comes over here. He takes these guys hostage. Thankfully, he got shot, and he was the only one. But it turns out he does have a long criminal history in the UK, and he was on their terror watch list. As recently as 2020, he was being investigated for possible terror-related problems. And now we learned that the 2 teenagers they took into custody over in the UK are his sons. So you tell me whether you think this guy should have been let in the country with a criminal history, terrorism sympathies, and possibly also mental illness.
Yeah, well, what does it take to get on the no-fly list? It sounds like with the record that he had, he should have been on the no-fly list, or at least questioned before getting on a plane to come to this country. I did a study of anti-Semitism in Europe for 2 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the issue. And in Europe, anti-Semitism is as high as it's ever been since World War II. But clearly, anti-Semitism played a role in him taking the hostages. And I was disappointed in the FBI trying to characterize it as just his effort to free Asia Siddiqui. Anti-Semitism is a big problem. It's a big problem in this country. We have to continue to focus on it. And the FBI should very much be focused on it as well, and not putting out statements that sort of poo-poo the threat. They have been overly sensitive to somehow besmirching or denigrating the Muslim community in this country. And believe me, they are very, very quick to complain about it. But this was obviously had an anti-Semitic aspect to it. They corrected their position, but kind of too late. It showed that that's the default position. Trying not to involve any ethnic group, God forbid.
Yeah, you clearly have a radical Muslim in there who hates Jews. I mean, he made that pretty clear right from the start. And there's a real question about whether we have the appetite to go after such suspects in this administration. I mean, Andy McCarthy over at National Review wrote as follows. He said, the question naturally arises, how energetic is our counterterrorism vetting of aliens seeking entry into the United States now that Biden has countermanded Trump's heightened vetting? You know, because Biden's first day, he got rid of those executive orders by Trump seeking heightened vetting of guys like this. And Andy said, quote, when it comes to Western governments and jihadism, willful blindness is never fully cured. The pressing question, though, is whether it is back with a vengeance. What do you think?
Well, you never hear discussions of Islamic terrorism. I haven't heard it in the last year from government. All you hear about is the threat of domestic terrorism, white supremacists, that sort of thing. I haven't seen cases brought against white supremacists. Where are the cases? Where are the leaks? Where are the arrests of these so-called domestic terrorists? And I certainly hope that, it's not the case that they're taking their eye off the external terrorist threat or the Islamic threat, because that's real, that's ongoing, it's not going away, it's going to be fairly consistent. And, all we have nationally to do these investigations is the FBI. So I hope that they haven't taken their attention away from international terrorism and domestic terrorism as far as radical Islam is concerned.
Well, here's the reality. You have the FBI now saying this guy was not on their radar, and people want to know why. Why not? Well, he should have been, right? Like, there's no way he should have been given a visa, and our partners over in the UK should have alerted us to him, and we should have been on it as well. So the FBI says not on our radar. And meanwhile, the FBI is ready to go in case any parent at a school board meeting in America decides to continue speaking without his or her mask, because they've been identified by this group as possible domestic terrorists. Merrick Garland refused to stand down on sicking the FBI potentially on these parents, even after that school board association withdrew its letter and said, never mind, sorry. Now we know the whole thing was generated by the Education Secretary Cardona anyway. And so that's what the FBI is doing. They're looking at the school board meetings for people who are not so nice in their rhetoric. They may say things to the school board that the school board members may not like. But they don't have this guy on their radar, and they don't recognize anti-Semitism when they see it.
Right, exactly. And they have become, unfortunately, very political in the last few years. They're trying to read those tea leaves, and that was not the way it was. The FBI has been a great institution throughout its history, but lately they look so sensitive to the politics of a particular situation. That's not what they should be doing. That's not what we want the Justice Department to be doing. But it looks certainly in the recent past like they've shifted to being hypersensitive to the politics of the particular administration that's in power.